Okay, I gotta get my something to write with.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Living Astrology with Janet. It is time to grab your cup of coffee or your tea or your water, whatever it is you're drinking. What are you drinking, Tam?
Water,
Water? Ah,
water.
grab your
It's,
water.
it's laced with magnesium, minerals, and sea salt.
Ooh, very good. Either way you look at it, sit back and relax so we can chat about October. I can't even believe it,
How
right?
did
It's
this
I know
happen?
it's early in the month. It's still the 25th, but by this time next week we're already into October. It is a solar eclipse day. So yeah, it would have been something that we were missing, right? If we didn't do this today.
How does
So
this happen? How did we get into October of 2024?
I don't know. But it seems like every year, right about this time, you and I are working on the almanac and we're starting to write, into that next year. So 2025 is already written, right? And so we'll be starting to write for 2026. So I think sometimes because we live sometimes for, weeks or months into that next year, that then we wake up and one day and it's October 2024 and we're like, "Oh, dang.
Oh, I
Where
know.
did the time go?"
Time
Right?
is slipping through my hands.
Right. And of course, the world has been a crazy place. There are so many things that we could point to from the appearance of what they're calling a mini moon. Have you heard anything about
Um,
this?
no, no.
So, from September 29th through the end of October, there will be an asteroid that comes close enough to the Earth. It doesn't hit the Earth, but it comes close enough to Earth to appear as a second moon in our skies. And this isn't just like astrological bullshit stuff that sometimes I hear about, people like, "Oh yeah, the 10th planet and it's right there." And you're like, "Yeah, where?" Well, this is from science and from, of course, the esoteric, where this particular asteroid is going to be as a second moon for at least a month or so, starting later this month, the next this week. And then there's a comet that's also going to make an appearance this month and apparently bright enough that we'll be able to see it during the day. How's that?
Wow, during the day.
During the day.
Finally get
And
good.
huh? And a star that is about to go supernova. I mean, all of these weird things like that that are, coming to roost here in this particular month in October, pretty
Yeah.
much starting in September, but mostly running through the month of October. And it makes me wonder, like, what is that all leading us to?
Oh, yeah, what is this all leading us to? And Janet, we were having a conversation backstage, you and me,
Which we always do.
about I always say something's in the air, right? Like
Yep.
changes in the
It's
air.
in the air, it's in the water, it's in the it's
Yeah,
everywhere.
yeah, it's just
So I think, people need to know that, things are kind of upsetting and crazy, but to and I try to do this. I try to keep myself aligned with, my role to play in all of this.
mhm.
And I get lost in that. I mean, that's one of the
Oh,
things. Like, I don't know. What do you guys want from me anymore? I mean,
oh, like totally. And I think that's worth saying, Janet.
mhm. Well, I
People
just said it.
Well, you did say it, but I'm gonna say it even louder. So here's the
Mhm.
thing, when we're leaders like this, we're putting ourselves out there. We're creating programs and information that we think people want. And yet there are times when sales don't reflect what we're putting out there, like feedback doesn't reflect that we're putting out the right things. And it's really hard to know. So for those of you who are watching
Hmm.
and you love our work, let us know. Like, hey, are you hoping for more information on just the moons? Do you want to know more about XYZ? Like, let us know, because you know what? It's really easy for somebody like Jana and I to sit here and go, I don't even know what my audience wants anymore. It it can be really confusing.
It's daunting at times, right?
Daunting is a good word. Yeah.
Yeah. So, because there's so many things that I could speak to or that you could speak to, but
Hmm.
what is it that makes sense to the people that are listening or reading or coming to your content driven
Right.
webinars and classes, things like that.
Let
So
us know.
that's a great point. Let us know what you want. What do you want to hear about?
Right.
And I mean, I know what I like to hear, so usually that's what I'm speaking to is things that triggered my fancy.
Right.
And I guess that's just what we keep doing. So in this case, for instance, you and I meeting every month and doing this to me is something that's so fun to do because it gives us this heads up, like everybody heads up that, we have this major solar eclipse occurring just on the 2nd of October. Are you ready? Because you're already in it to win
Right.
it, right? This
Ooh,
is, these eclipses are I was just listening to an astrologer over the weekend, I guess it was, and this astrologer says that the eclipses we start to feel about 3 months before they happen.
come on.
Yes. And
No,
they start to, kind of coalesce and start to bring, this new energy with them because they're game changers, right?
they
That's
are. They
that's
are
their hallmark. So
totally.
I think back to 3 months ago from October, which would have been July, July, August, September.
So
Yeah, 3
really,
months ago.
September, August, July 1st. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So what was starting up different in your life about that time? Because it may be a pointer to what this very first thing that happens in the first major thing that happens for October is the solar eclipse.
Hmm.
Although I do have, um, and I don't even know if I did this right, Uranus turning retrograde
Yes, that it. No, no, no,
on
no.
the 1st. Yep, October. Sorry, that's September. Oh
Yeah,
my
that
god,
was
I've got
September. I did the same thing this morning when I was going through my notes. I was
to because I have October in my hand. I'm
I
looking
love that.
over to the
No,
book where I
no.
usually have it. So October 1st, what I think about October 1st is that Neptune, the planet of spirituality, of illusion, disillusion, um,
Compassion, faith.
yeah, faith, yeah, spirituality is more than just us, finding ourselves connected to spirit. It's about
Yeah,
the faith that we have, that
right.
we're supported. Oh my Lord. Okay. Anyway, and he moves into the gate 36, which
Okay.
in human design is a huge gate about turmoil and crisis. And I would say make that a spiritual crisis, a crisis of faith,
Yeah,
maybe a
crisis of
crisis
faith.
around how wild and whacked out the world looks. We see a lot of death and craziness around us at this moment.
What gate number are you saying again?
36, which is
Gate
on the
36.
solar plexus, y'all. And so this is a gate that is about emotions and what the energy of a crisis or how turmoil impacts our emotions. And Neptune has been at this gate already once before he retrograded. So he was there, give us a little idea of, what kind of crisis moments might be occurring. But then he is going to perch at this gate, I want to say all the way through the rest of the year. And of course, the rest of the year isn't that much longer, but yes, indeed. And yeah, so be
So
prepared for
I have a
turmoil.
question about this, about human design, because that's my weak spot, right? Um, so Neptune's moving into gate 36. It's a gate of crisis. Does this does this indicate timing to mundane events? Like are we saying there's going to be some kind of turmoil and Neptune's there, or is Neptune bringing the turmoil? Is Neptune bringing it,
No,
or is it there and we're reacting?
yeah, no, 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 no. Neptune isn't bringing the turmoil. Neptune is bringing the spiritual, the disillusionment, the blurriness, the glamour, the glimmer, uh, to the gate 36. So what he's bringing to the table might become as a crisis, crisis of spirituality, a crisis of not knowing like what's
There's no
true.
external crisis per se.
No,
Thank you.
no, 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 no. But it does often happen that an external crisis will trigger the internal crisis, right? Something in the outer world. We're looking at an election that is likely going to be crazy. There's just no other way around it.
Right,
No matter which person wins, there's going to be some kind of outcry, some kind of
right.
turmoil, right? Turmoil. So how we respond to the turmoil is what's most important, right?
Right.
Because, you know, people respond in a reactive way quite frequently because we haven't learned yet how to really respond with emotional energy. We're learning that. And so you're going to have some people that are in that reactive mode, and then you're going to have people that are hanging back and going, okay, let's breathe for a minute. And how do I respond to this? And is it really personalized or is it not? So it's hard to say with an outer planet how personal it actually gets.
Mm.
So we just be prepared, right? We stay in our meditative state, or we get into prayer, or we ground ourselves. Neptune,
Use your spiritual tools.
use your spiritual tools, indeed. And of course, his moving back into this gate doesn't mean that on that day, particularly, the problem exists. It
All
is the
right.
conglomeration of things that will occur at least through the end of the year. I haven't looked yet into January, um, but that energy in the shadow is turmoil
Oh,
in its
right.
highest expression. It's compassion. It's
Right.
love of the human, right? The human experience, the human
Right.
condition.
So
So it really does start us off in this month, really reminding us to be in our own, be in your spiritual self, be in your peaceful.
so it begins October 1st, and this will crescendo at some point as it moves into the gate and then later in the year. So this could be a, I'm going to say, helpful thing come voting season. This could be the answer to voting season, November, result season, I should say.
Well, considering a large part of the outer world is, how can I say this without hurting people's feelings? Because I don't mean to hurt anybody, but a large part of the outer world are very reactive, right? They
Sure.
that's a conversation that takes place as you start to move into a consciousness evolution. And we have to have both on the planet in order to facilitate growth. How would we compare ourselves in our evolution if we didn't have people that were not as much evolved?
Right.
This is a tricky conversation.
It's a
But
perfect conversation.
it
This is a
it
conversation.
sounds judgmental on my part, and that is not my intention at all. But it is going to be incumbent on those of us who know better not to get drawn into
Totally.
drama and reactivity, and instead remember that, this too shall pass. And yeah, that this is all playing a part in our evolution of consciousness in the bigger picture on the planet. So,
I I want to say these are the important conversations that should be had more often. For all the people who are afraid to have them, like what you
yeah,
just said is so important. We are all personally responsible for our contributions to the
exactly.
collective.
Exactly.
And
And
I
I was just oh, this is nice.
Okay,
So, where Neptune has been is in the gate of the love of spirit. So,
oh,
it's a gate somewhat of innocence and purity of soul, right? The soul's purity. And all of you have a gate 25, and Neptune was sitting at that gate, and now he's, back into the gate 36 as of October 1st, but he'll return to 25 in February 10th. So just before Valentine's Day. How appropriate is that?
right.
When maybe calm reasserts itself, right?
There
When
we go.
things begin to look different through whatever lens that we're looking through. Um, that's all I can say for that. I wish I had a crystal ball that could tell you exactly what was going to happen. But
Now,
again, we're the co-creators. That's the other point, is that we're co-creating this reality.
we got some nice comments here. Let's see. We've got TD Hawk says, respond to crisis and act through your faith, spirituality, perhaps, or spiritually, perhaps. Christine says, hope for the best and always be prepared.
Ha! Good one. That sounds like a Girl Scout motto.
Right? It does. And TD says, observational with love is not judgmental, sending love. Yeah, I
Oh,
agree.
nice.
Like just sharing your observations and wisdom on this, I think it's so important.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think all of us who are out there putting our butts on the line in public like this,
Like this.
I think we're all a little bit shocked sometimes by what the response back will be to us
There
from,
are times.
some people. So that's
There are
why it's
times
like
for sure.
try to be careful about how we're saying what we need to say.
Absolutely.
So anyway, Neptune, I think this is a great hallmark as he is completing his transit through Pisces even.
Yes.
And so we're being, really tasked to bring more of that spiritual point of view into everything that we do in our personal lives. And then we just jump into the fire the very next day. Like,
Bring it.
let's do it. The solar eclipse in Libra,
Yeah.
and that will be conjunct the south node, Karma, and the black moon Lilith, crazy shadows coming up to kick our butts, and Mercury. How are we going to present ourselves or say the things that we need to say? So that new moon solar eclipse, a powerful one.
It is a powerful one. Yeah. I have it pulled up so I can see it with you this month. I don't always do this, Janet.
Oh,
um, am I looking at a trine, a grand trine?
we're no. Well, if you look at it, show me what you're looking at. Maybe through from Venus to Mars to
I can't
Saturn.
show you. I'm looking on my screen. I can't show you.
Oh, well, here, let me
Yeah,
help.
yeah, it's Mars, Saturn, and Venus.
Yeah, so there is that. That is a water trine.
Yeah,
And that makes it, there's that kind of heightens our emotional
right,
energy.
right,
It does also because, these are energies that are supportive of the energy of the moon, right? Of the new moon. The
sure,
new moon herself is in Libra.
right,
So, what it would suggest perhaps is that there's a great possibility that we could really balance our emotions with our minds and our hearts, right? Um, and literally, that's the very definition of our consciousness evolution or evolution of consciousness is all about bringing
totally.
those things into balance and
Yes,
into some kind of in harmony. So the new moon, or yeah, new moon is actually making that a possibility if we tap into it, right? We're tapping into those deep waters of meaning. What does this mean for me? Of experiences in the past that have set us up to feel the way that we feel. And,
mhm,
you know, by default, like sometimes we just feel by default. Do you know what I mean by that?
I do. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm even you guys out there. So, like, I'm going to give you a great example. One day, my husband was having what we thought was a stroke, and I very calmly called 911, got them out there, and, in my bedroom suddenly is this whole cadre of paramedics and whatever the firemen, whatever they were. And I'm standing there calmly, just watching and observing. And a fire person comes up to me and she's like, "You're so calm." And I'm like, "Oh, should I be upset? Should I be crying? Should I be screaming? Should I be anxious?" I mean, I thought in that moment there are certain things that we believe that we have to feel in certain instances or certain experiences,
mm,
and I was outside of that, just observing,
mhm.
which is a very good place to be,
During an emergency, it is. Yeah,
right? Because you can think clearly, you don't have all that emotional energy flooding your system.
right.
And my husband wasn't having a stroke, by the way. So it was a good outcome. But the thing that always stuck with me is that people expect that they should respond in a certain way or react in a certain way.
Yeah, that there's no handbook about how to react during specific situations. Regarding this moon, like and the water signs and the trine that's present, to me, I think about it as this opportunity for healing. That's how when I think about
Yes.
water, it's so healing and trines are harmonious. So these planets are playing together. They're personal planets except for Saturn. I think it really could be something lovely. I believe.
I think it offers us the opportunity to break out of the old patterns,
Ah,
to bring healing to the old patterns, right? Because water has memory
yes.
and
Good.
can take us back into the past and how all of that builds up to our current time. And just because something's in our memory doesn't mean that it's what will happen in our future. So we really have a great opportunity, a precipice of healing here, right? That we can, if we choose to enact it, because it doesn't just happen. The trine sets up the picture of all of this is available and we can move with ease in
Right.
that direction,
It's not
but
automatic.
it's not automatic,
It's
right?
not automatic.
We
Um,
have to take the step.
the other thing that I wanted to bring up was I noticed there's something like 12, let me look again, 12 air sign aspects happening. Like they're involved. So
Could you see my I've highlighted all these things and I was like, wow, October is like uh
mental.
and all these little stabbing points, right?
Yeah.
Where
Yes.
and they're like, "Oh, let's prickle that thing," and, "Oh, let's pickle that one," or "Let's bring that one up."
Yep. Yep.
So
Yep.
it has a whole host of opportunities associated with it this month,
Yeah.
and, more so than I think even September. September had some big things happening, and October does as well, but not in the same way, right? This is the
Right.
bridge month because it's Libra. Right? This
Yeah.
whole month of October is until we get to the end of it, is a Libra month, and our task in Libra is to balance and harmonize and bring peace and justice and balance the scales if we can, right? And that's hard to do if you're overly emotional and or overly mental,
Right.
or overly physical. You have to kind of bring all the elements together.
Mm.
And I think we see that very clearly in the eclipse pattern as well, with the opportunity for healing. There's also, a grand square, right? You
Oh.
can see the square between Libra planets and Mars in Cancer, and then Cancer in a square to
Oh yeah.
Chiron in Aries, and Chiron and Aries in a square to pretty much the part of fortune. But we could even say it's widely squaring Pluto in Capricorn. So we have this kind of pattern that is also stuck, right? Or has been stuck, but is ready to escape. Like escape velocity is being reached because all those in the square are cardinal signs, initiating, beginning
Right.
something new. So we're reaching escape velocity of our consistent attachment to the past
Oh.
and to fear and to the old, right? Everything is about buttoning up this chapter in our history and moving into a new chapter, and moving into a new chapter is always fraught with peril
Oh,
because
absolutely.
right, it's just wobbly, it's not sure. And so the things that I see in the eclipse with the South Node conjunction tells us there's a karmic past that we have to overcome.
Mm.
And part of that is about rebalancing relationships,
Mhm.
releasing codependent patterns, which is a big Libran theme anyway, and confronting imbalances in, Libran things like the courts or in justice or in
Mhm.
fairness and
Mhm.
equalities and all of that. And then shifting toward more authentic partnerships.
Mm.
That's a good conversation to have, I think. And then if we look at the conjunction with the South Node, then karmic relationships coming to a close. Let's
Ooh.
close them down. Releasing patterns of overcompromise where we've given away the farm, or self sacrifice, right? That's an old theme. And all of that for harmony, where we give away too much for harmony and then we're left bereft or unfulfilled in order to have done that.
Mm.
And then letting go of past baggage, right? The old stuff's got to go.
Gotta go.
And then when we get to the conjunction of the moon, and this is an exact conjunction, right? Black moon, Lilith, the moon, and the sun, all at 10 degrees of Libra, that really brings this one home. And Lilith symbolizes the rebellious, wild feminine, right? The
Mhm.
parts of us are that are repressed in some ways,
Mhm.
and where taboo subjects aren't supposed to be spoken, right? We don't talk
Right.
and it's kind of associated with our untamed nature, right? The part of us that we keep pushing to the back. And so the potential themes with that solar eclipse then are about repressed feelings or shadow elements in our relationships coming back, surfacing,
Mm,
right? Bringing up for healing. That's the water trine,
that's
healing.
the water trine, right?
Facing those taboo subjects that we haven't wanted to, control issues, desires, all of the things that we just kind of go, yeah, no, I can't be that.
Mm,
Um, Empowering the voice of the unheard, marginalized aspects of yourself. And we're going to see this happening outside of us as well. We've been seeing this, right? Outside of us, where the marginalized voices are being heard
mm,
and or wanting to be heard or struggling to be heard. And then in the end, the Black Moon Lilith conjunction with this is all about owning yourself,
mm.
owning your power in relationships or standing up for your own needs, even when it feels uncomfortable, which is the hardest thing, right?
Right.
And then there is a conjunction. 1 degree out is Mercury,
Yes, I see that.
and
11
yeah,
degrees. Yep.
11 degrees, and so there's a lot of light there. 11th degree is light, illumination,
Mhm,
and that comes up through, I'd say, honest communication
mhm.
and about unresolved issues in your relationships, honest communication with yourself, finding closure in, or clarity in past conversations, mental breakthroughs, or shifts
Oh,
in
right.
perspective that are related to all the fairness issues and equality issues, but also increased mental awareness of what's been hidden from you. And that's a big thing because um, I think we're sometimes really impacted by the things that we don't know about ourselves or that we don't want to look at or the aspects that we just keep putting into the back on the back burner. um not speaking our truth, not
Mhm.
standing up for ourselves, not courageously moving forward, not being willing to be resilient in the face of craziness. I don't know what else to say anymore with that. um
I
so
I have a few points to ask or
yes.
question or poke about. When I think of Libra, and we have so much going on here in Libra, I think 4 words. I think love, money, beauty, and balance, right?
Mm,
Okay. The part that we talked a lot about relationships, love, balance. What about the abundance, the money piece, the that? What and of course in the mundane world, it ruling legal,
mm, the law, mhm,
the law. So,
or the justice system, right? That
okay, the
supports the
justice
laws.
the
Yeah.
justice system. What are the potentials? Let's talk about the potentials societally around this. I want to because I mean awareness is everything, right?
Correct.
And there's a lot going on in our legal system right now, our justice system, but also the money thing because money is changing so fast. And the whole the idea of letting go of traditional ideas, especially with Uranus and Taurus, and we're getting to the end of that cycle. Cryptocurrencies are trying hard to make their way into the mainstream. They're trying, and it's like, the horse is dying, but nobody wants to talk about it. Give me your thoughts on the potentials that this eclipse might trigger.
Well, I wanna say that with around money in particular, like, the economy is showing some signs of doing better, yet the voices that you hear out
Where do you live? What planet are you living on?
I just read an article about how the economy is, starting to look better with the pressure on, what do you call those things? The interest rates moving down a point, and yet there's still this picture that we have of things collapsing around that. And I think we can't hold kind of discussion and bring any kind of balance to it while Pluto is still in Capricorn, destructing those
Okay.
systems. So it's a difficult thing to call, right? I feel like we all
That's a good
sort of
point.
feel, I mean, I want to be hopeful. I want to be optimistic. And there is reason for that to have that, but we still have some collapse to go through before we get there. I'm not
Totally.
sure this particular solar eclipse points that out particularly. Libra is Venus ruled, so it does have more to do with our relationship to money, our relationship to the systems, the economy, the banks, the mortgage systems, and all of that. More so rather than Uranus in Taurus, which Taurus rules banking and the actual
Right.
money
Right.
itself. Um, so, what we have is collapse and change
Collapse and
and
change. Yes.
collapse and change. And
Yeah.
that isn't something that's over yet. It
Oh,
isn't
no.
going to be,
No.
I feel like we've only maybe scratched the surface of what that looks like.
I'm with you on that. Yeah.
Yeah, because those outer planets, I'm watching next year and into 2026 when all of the outer planets change signs. I mean, Pluto,
Yes.
we're already watching, he's changing.
Right.
Uranus is going to change into Gemini. Neptune is going to change into Aries. At the same time, Saturn changes into Aries, and
Yep.
they come into a conjunction, which is the first time in long time in
Yep.
Aries. So there's a lot to be hopeful about,
Yeah.
but collapse and destruction sort of still in our path. Who knows what that looks like, right? Maybe the dollar collapsing. I can't
I
even
just
imagine.
wanted to hear your thoughts on it because that certainly was going through my mind. I have a message here. TD Hawk says, this sounds like it could be a setup for opportunities for dysfunctional family stuff and patterns to show up. Maybe
Mm,
this time more opportunities for healing. Well, I do love that water trine that's going on under
yeah.
this moon. It could be certainly a nice opportunity for that.
Well, and the fact that Mars and Venus are both in there, so it's
Yes.
taking up the divine feminine and the
That's what I
masculine.
thought too. I loved
Yeah.
that balance between those two. I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah, yeah. That is really good. But it also forms a kite,
oh,
which I don't do I want to open up this can of worms. The kite
okay.
point, the top of the point of the kite
Yep.
is at the part of fortune. The part of fortune is in Capricorn. And the part of fortune is really about where we can find joy, where we can, find our hearts, right? And our happiness.
Mm,
And because happiness isn't necessarily an outside job, it's coming from the inside. But it really tells the story in Capricorn that it's about the restructuring that's going on that really supports that water trine to be
mm,
the kite, right? And the point of the other point, so where the tail of the kite would be is Mars,
okay.
Mars in Cancer,
Cancer,
who's,
yes.
steamed up a little bit.
Steamed up.
And and if we want to look at that in its most positive thing, it's that, we're having to come to a new structure, a new format, a new way of being, new definitions, new and all the big structures, because Capricorn really is about those bigger structures,
Right.
uh, you know, government included, right?
Government
So,
included. Big box.
yeah.
Think big box.
Yeah, so the big boxes, the military even, and the
Yeah, that's
nature of
right.
how war is even being played out. This is a whole nother thing. Mars is on the other side and he's on the war path in some respects, but the war is being played in a different way.
Mm,
Yes, there are bombs. Yes, there are the usual physical things, but there's more of a cyber war going on, an
there is.
information war going
Totally.
on, and I've been listening to astrologers talking about a new Cold War developing, that we kind of let go of in the 80s with the coming down of the Berlin Wall. And what is that going to look like in our world? So lots of structures. We're still in collapse. We're
We are
still in,
definitely still in collapse. It's
yeah.
exciting.
It is exciting, even though collapse doesn't feel good. It feels like, well, what could we create in its place that
Yeah.
is more in keeping with what our true values are, as opposed to the, the for the years, the last 20 years where, more than that, actually, 200 years, where Earth was the place where Jupiter and Saturn came together, and they're our societal cultural planets, right? They really tell us what the culture is responding to. While they've been in Earth, we've seen this huge focus on money and on corporations and on building the foundations of economy. And now all of that has moved into air for the next 200 years. So now it becomes the information game. It
Mm,
becomes what's going on in the air. We don't see the air. We only know it's there because we haven't collapsed dead because we can't breathe,
right.
right? Or we feel it when the wind blows. So the shift between that earth energy and air is huge, and that's we just scratched the surface of what that's going to look like.
Totally. I
Yeah.
get that. And you feel that. I mean,
Yeah.
there's honestly, I was looking this morning at a short video. This person was telling us that, how these things, these cell phones, look at me, I'm all connected,
Ah,
track us 24/7. The information goes invisibly into the air, into the ethers, and the NSA knows exactly where I am at any given time. They know exactly what I'm saying to you at any given time. Hear that. So that when my dog, when I tell my husband that my dog has a new lump on its shoulder, it starts sending me dog lump removal information.
oh my gosh, yes.
Information in the air, in the ethers, all the time. We're surrounded. Never mind the EMFs coming off the LED light coming at me, right? I mean, air. It's and information. It's everywhere. And it's
Yeah.
no wonder we're exhausted when you think about it. Our brains are so like we're just social media and videos and phone calls and digital refrigerators, digital microwaves, digital ovens. I mean, we're
Right.
just
You know what? I turn the lights out of my house at night and it's still lit up
yeah,
because
it's
everything
still
has
lit
an
up.
indicator light on it.
Yep,
From my internet thing to my cat box,
yep.
it has a light on it.
It's all in
And
the air.
microwave and oh my lord, it's so funny because like there is no true darkness anymore, right? It's all lit up. But I think that's the key, right? Where as we're moving through some of these collapsing things, to remember that this is, we came here. We chose to be
Oh,
here.
I chose it.
I think I got in the wrong line. I was going somewhere else, but ended up here and thought, okay, well, let's make the best
Close
of it. Yep,
enough.
close enough. Uh, so sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe the things I'm seeing, I'm hearing, and how people are behaving. Surely I am not on the right planet. But then I go, yeah, of course you are, right? So
Right.
here I am. Um, but as we go through this time, right, remembering what's really good, what's really possible, what's the most co-creative, juicy, fun-loving, loving thing that you can do, and that is so hard to remember in the heat of a moment, in the heat of a story that comes across the airwaves of destruction and death and what have you, and bombings and exploding pagers, and I mean, who
Uh,
knew,
oh my
right?
god, the
Jeez.
exploding pagers. Yes, that was crazy.
Right.
Oh,
Oh,
something new.
I just that to me that I just go, "Wow. What if one day somebody decides that all of our cell phones need to explode?" I mean, is that even possible? I mean, it's kinda scary to think about. But we digress. There are other things that are happening this month, not just the solar
I'm
eclipse.
ready to go there. Let's do it.
Yeah, we're
How about Jupiter turning retrograde?
Yes, I love that, and by the way, people, I actually also, wanna talk to people, not today, of course, but, I in tune in to the next weeks because we're gonna take a deeper dive into the gene keys because we're in a month where all of Venus is there and, Mercury goes there and the Sun goes there into the gates that are all shadow, fear gates.
Oh.
So it's a time of year from the last week in September till the second, I think, week of November when we finally break out of that, where we really need to understand what are the shadows that are operating within us.
Ooh.
And the first shadow that we deal with that new moon, solar eclipse, is inadequacy.
Oh,
What was it you and I were talking about this morning where it was like, oh, right, I feel inadequate to the task anymore.
right,
There's
right.
just too much.
Yep.
Okay, but anyway, so I just wanted to say that there is more to tell of the tale. So
Mm,
now we're looking at Jupiter turning retrograde. That is on October 9th,
mhm.
coming up right away. What do you think about that?
Yeah, all these big outer planets retrograde is a little bit boring, just something of a slowdown. What I am noticing is with Jupiter and Gemini around friends and family, like the learning, the education, the people who are like, I want to learn more. I've got to. And even, I mean, I'm an avid reader, and even my own uptick in I want to learn something new is there. and present, which is interesting. And also the sociability, more chatty than normal, more social than normal. And for
Mm.
heaven's sakes, like, I'd like a weekend off.
Well, Jupiter and Gemini has been really good for all of that mind orientation and
Yeah, I
that
know.
expansiveness that learning brings for us, right? And
Exactly.
now with it turning retrograde, all of that outer expansiveness goes inward. Right, so
Yes.
that's the whole idea of a retrograde. We have the breathing out and the breathing in, and now we're going in. And it prompts us to reflect and review, reassess our beliefs, our ideas, our learning processes, the information we are taking in, all of that.
I'm hoping Jupiter in retrograde will, tamp things a little bit, slow the racing mind, um, slow the
Maybe.
chatter.
Yeah.
I'm hoping. I mean, I know it's really up to us to assimilate information during a retrograde, review, reflect, renew.
Yeah. Yeah.
However, I'm hoping naturally things will slow a little bit during this period. And I actually can admit that I don't know how long this retrograde is, Janet.
It is retrograde until February 4th.
Okay.
From October 9th to February 4th, so
Yep.
4 months,
Yep.
5 months, and, it is a you're exactly right. All of that gathering of information that we have been going through and the learning now turns inward, so now it becomes maybe more about integrating what
Yeah.
we've learned, um, finding out how all the pieces fit together.
Right.
So, a good idea is to slow down, right? So we have more time for deeper reflection. It's the perfect time to do a Gene Keys sort of deep dive because it's all about contemplation,
Mhm.
not racing ahead to get an answer, but to really sit with the Gene Key or the human design gate or the sign, the aspect, whatever it is, and take some time to reassess what is your beliefs around anything in your life, who
Sure.
you are, what you do, what's possible, what the world is showing you, all of these things. Um, and it's an ideal time to look back on the decisions that we've made,
Totally.
right? And kind of, you know, reassess, just reassess. Any planet is in retrograde is going to take us to reassessment. That's just its thing. But Jupiter, because it is an interpersonal planet or a cultural societal planet.
Societal, yep.
Right, it really tells us it marks the culture that we're in. It marks the society that we're a part of. So therefore our social media and all of that and the news cycles, watch the news cycles, how that subtly changes.
Right.
Maybe not so subtly changes. Where we might start seeing our own fears being reflected to us about information or misinformation or things like that. So it could be a very good time, don't get me wrong, but a retrograde Jupiter is often going to take us inward and, rework, reassess, review, reevaluate, all
I
great words.
I want to ask you, let's see, let's think about this. You just talked about, I think, Gene Keys being in some phase of fear.
No, during those weeks from
Yep.
September to November, the sun travels through all of the gates on the spleen center of the human design template.
Okay.
And every one of those gates holds the potential for the shadow expression. Now, all of the gates do. So don't get me wrong here, but there's a specific thing that the spleen is about, and
Yep.
that's survival, right?
Ah,
And because it has that survival energy, it really on the DNA level can really trigger those parts of us that react to fear or react in a fear-based way. And that is a primal instinct that we have as humans to survive. And yet, that just keeps us at this level of surviving. What we really want to do is elevate those shadows into what we would call the gift or the siddhis
right.
in Gene Keys, where we're becoming more conscious about the impact of things like fear. And the first fear being the one of inadequacy. It's actually not. The first one is going to be perfectionism, right? This
Mm,
need we have to be perfect, judgmental and critical, right, of ourselves and others. That's the first one that we'll have to deal with, and its impact in the world, right, where I'm tempering everything I say because I'm worried that I'm going to get judged or criticized for the way I think or for what the words are I'm choosing to say. So
Mm,
it's up in our faces every year at this time. It just so happens that this year we have Venus having gone through those gates, Mercury getting ready to go through those gates, and then the sun going through those gates. So it's like nested dolls, right? It's like,
right.
let's keep digging and digging and digging into the places where we can get rid of or let go. I don't know that we ever let go of fear because it's in our DNA, but can we consciously deal with that in a way that allows us to still make decisions that are good for us or good for um, our lives?
So I was trying to figure out and hoping that you would connect Jupiter retrograde
Mm.
in Gemini to this. Like, what is the grand application of Jupiter retrograde during that?
Well, Jupiter rules our philosophies, our beliefs, how
Yes,
we see things from the bigger picture, the bigger perspective.
right.
And, we can attribute that then with Gemini to the things that we're learning about and the information that's flowing through us. So with Jupiter in retrograde, it's an opportunity for us to look at all of that, irregardless of what the Sun, Mercury, and Venus are doing, right? They're doing their thing. But how is it that the information that we're taking in contributes to a bigger picture? And is it a true picture?
Mm,
Jupiter also rules the sign of Sagittarius, where we're going to the heart of a truth.
right.
And it all plays together, but there's no
Okay.
one specific thing that Jupiter has to do with anything to do with those gene keys,
Yeah.
except to look at the gates that he himself are transiting through that
Uh,
might also trigger a fear.
okay.
So,
Okay.
and
There we go.
yeah, and Gemini gates all are on the throat. So it has a lot to do with what we're speaking, how we're voicing things, how
Interesting.
we are manifesting based on what we're saying.
Yeah. Okay.
I hope, does that help?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
Awesome. Um, after anything else you want to say about Jupiter?
No, no, no. The next thing I have up is Pluto going direct in Capricorn
Yes, Pluto going direct in Capricorn for the last time
for the last
in
time.
248 years or so before he ever
It'll
returns.
be a while.
It'll be a while, right? We won't be here to witness that, but we are here to witness his final move into Aquarius,
Yep.
which happens on November 19th.
Mhm.
So the fact that he turns direct tells you now he's moving forward toward that rendezvous. It feels sort of fated, doesn't it? It
Right?
feels,
Yes. Oh, I'm glad you said that. That's what's on my heart about that whole thing. Yeah.
yeah,
It's curious that it's happening in November, right?
I think it's curious that Jupiter is turning retrograde just before that period of time. I feel like Capricorn energy being the closing salvo in this election here in the USA is
Right?
interesting. And then that, move almost immediately after that into Aquarius. So, what is it that Pluto direct is going to bring us? Because this is like, where you feel a crescendo or a pinpoint or
Right.
things coming to a head. And what has Capricorn's influence with Pluto been? It's been since 2008, sharply, dramatically transforming the whole social structure in our world, our authority,
Our
government.
institutions, our institutions.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Power dynamics, right? If we're looking at something that's a non,
You know
physical, I
what?
can't see it.
Oh my god, you know what that made me think of just when we just said that? Has anybody on this podcast other than me noticed how many CEOs are stepping down from their institutions? Like, just this week, like, my mind is blown. The CEO of Nike just went,
I did hear that. Yes.
he's one of 100. I've been tracking them. There's, like, hundreds. Like, CEOs, big businesses are they're falling apart. It's really weird. I just heard that BlackRock filed for bankruptcy. Like, that almost seems impossible, but that's what I read last week. Like, if that's the truth, if I can, like, make that be the truth, that is truly the epitome of Pluto in Capricorn at the 29th degree. That's your
And
key.
and if you look back to when he first moved in to Capricorn, what started happening was corporations were folding up, closing up stores.
Yep.
Our There has been such a major shift in the structures of our society since 2008, right? And that was further changed when the pandemic struck. And I don't think I don't think our world will ever look the same. And it can't, because Pluto's next move into Aquarius is a whole new world, a whole different way of seeing things.
Yep.
And, from the very basis of it, it rebuilds the authority structure. So what we see often, and maybe it might seem like a minor theme to people, but the real struggle that's going on is between the power structure, those who have the power and those who don't feel like they have power. And that's the key of Pluto in Aquarius, that the people that are perceived as not having the power, the marginalized parts of our populace, of the world, moving toward the center as the big structures are moving to the edges. So we've just barely begun this, right?
Yeah.
This is so it becomes a time when it becomes power to the people
Yeah.
and people taking back their power, which also means that we're going to see that also in the outer world.
Pluto and Aquarius.
Pluto
Power
and
to the
Aquarius.
people.
hmm so we're rebuilding authority systems or structures. We are completing a transformation that really began back in 2008, but takes some time still, right? It's like after a big earthquake. All the buildings are crashed, a tornado, a hurricane, right? There's all this debris. The hurricane is over, the tornado is over, the earthquake is over, but we're still dealing with the consequences of it for several weeks, months, years, depending on the destruction. And
Mhm.
that's what this is going to be, right? We have this destruction that's taken place, and it's going to be likely years before we see really our way into what Aquarius energy promises, right?
Mhm.
Empowerment through responsibility. That's what I think,
Oh,
personal
sure.
responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So,
Whoa. We have like less than 10 minutes, and we
ah,
have at least got to talk about the October 17th full moon eclipse in Aries.
the full moon, I don't have it down as an eclipse,
I
right?
have
We had
just a penumbral, you know?
penumbral. No, really?
That's what yeah,
I'm going to check that out. Let's check out.
check
Is
it out. Like,
is
be wrong, but that's
October
what I have.
17th what it would be a lunar eclipse. We've already had the lunar eclipse. Is it one? No lunar eclipse. So, no.
Wow. Okay. Then we'll have
Yeah.
to rewrite that page of the energy almanac. My apologies.
Wow, I didn't notice it. It went beyond my notice.
Yeah.
But it would be real easy to make that mistake because last year there was a powerful eclipse at that point in time. But we had it earlier. We had it with the full moon last week. So, but it was only a partial one too. It wasn't a penumbral. But anyway, either way you look at it, it is still a powerful full moon coming.
Aries.
Um, it is an Aries moon opposed the sun in Libra. So that is a love and war axis
Right.
where we're always in this struggle, right?
Mhm.
And the moon will be in a conjunction to the goddess Eris, exact conjunction. And, I'm thinking discord, right? That's what she's discord. She's all about discord. And the moon, and they're kind of sisters, right? The moon isn't about discord, but they're divine feminine pieces of this puzzle.
Mhm.
And they are literally in an exact conjunction on that day. And it feels like something coming to a close, something major coming to a close. I don't know if that's something political, if that's something ethereal, like, cosmic in a way that, is,
What? Tell me, like, for what reason? Tell me again.
well, because, the moon, at a full moon, we are bringing things to a closure or a
Absolutely.
completion
But
or a
what makes it?
culmination.
But what?
But because the moon is conjunct Eris, the goddess of discord, there's
Oh, Eris.
something.
Oh, okay. That's what Eris is, the part that made you think it's like a world thing coming. Okay, got it, got it.
Yeah, and it's Eris, Christine. The black moon Lilith is in Libra, so she's not too close to the sun because she's 12 degrees away from the sun during the full moon. But Eris herself is in Aries and has been. And then on the other side of the moon is Chiron. So
Mm,
there's healing from discord, maybe?
maybe. I
Is
like
there discord that then requires some kind of healing? And I wonder if the moon doesn't represent a person in this.
right, a leader of some kind.
Mhm.
Oh, oh.
One that's qualified to bring peace to the or balance at least to these two desperate energies, likely a female, right? Who steps
Right.
up and says, so I don't know, I don't want to get into election stuff, but it's very apparent this world does need more women in leadership. So that could be a change that we start to see after this full moon, perhaps.
Right, right.
It is a north node connection. The nodes are still in Aries and Libra, and they're nearing the end of that. So
Yes.
we're really closing up this idea of independence and our identities, and really being identified with who we want to be as individuals.
Mhm.
Um, so anyway, there's all of that stuff, and then looking at the pattern, we have a mystic rectangle involved. We don't ever really get to talk about that much.
I don't know what that
Um,
is.
the mystic rectangle is, where you have two trines, so four planets, two of them, they're each in trines, and each of them at the corners that are sextile to another planet. And it is a sign of spiritual emergence or uh, more spiritual voices being heard. It's mystic, and it sits there between Jupiter and the Eris new moon, or I mean, moon, and the part of fortune, and the galactic center, which is why most astrologers won't talk about this because they don't think of the galactic center as a important part of something, but to me it is. Maybe because my sun sits across from it, and then the sun, right? The sun forms that other end. I don't think I think it really is a call for us to embody our divine principles, our divineness, our divinity. And without that, we're lost, right? If we don't remember the fact that we are embodied divine beings, we're lost. Right, and then we act lost, and then we design our decisions become about the fear of being lost or not knowing or protecting ourselves or seeing other and being afraid of it,
Mm,
that kind of thing. So we have to remember that we're all one. So let's our concepts of spirituality, of divineness, oneness, universal love,
mm,
compassion, humanitarianism or humanity.
mm.
Uh, help me, there's more, I'm sure, right? Uh, just being our God selves, right? All of this coming up big time in that full moon as a balance to the crazy that might come next,
Oy. It's gotta happen. We gotta let it happen.
right? And at that full moon, we still have the midheaven of that chart is at 29 degrees of Cancer, right next to the moon.
Uh,
The planet Venus is at 29 degrees of Scorpio, a sign ruled by both Mars and Pluto. Then Pluto himself still sitting at 29 degrees of Capricorn at that point in time. So we still have we're in closure mode.
ooh
We're
boy.
we're in closure mode.
I
So on
like
one hand, that makes it exciting.
Oh, to me, it's super exciting. I'm glad we're in closure mode. The time has come. Let's end the secrecy, expose it all, and be done with it.
Yeah, I mean, do we wanna know? That's another question.
I
Do we
do.
really wanna know? I do because I like to know. I'd rather know than not know. Um, I don't know. It's a weird world at the moment, and that always happens when you are on a cusp of a major change.
Yes, it's you can feel it. I've been saying this a lot in the show. It's in the air. Something is in the air. Everybody is saying it. Somebody you haven't seen in 6 months, they're like, something's in the air. Everybody knows. Who knows which way it's going to go, but
Well, we know which way it's gonna go. We just don't know how long it's gonna take us there, and that is that we become a more humanitarian world concerned with issues about how we support one
that's the
another,
truth. That's the
right?
truth.
Yeah.
Yes,
Uh, but
yes.
does that happen in our lifetimes? I don't know. I hope so. I hope to
Oh
live
yeah.
to see it.
Oh yeah. I
Um,
I did sign up for that. Yes.
right, right, but that means we also signed up for all this
Yep.
crap that
The
happens
turmoil. Yep.
beforehand.
I'll be
The
here.
turmoil, to use the Neptune word.
Yep.
Very good. All right. Well, that is it for us this morning, everybody. Tam, thank you so much for being here with me. I guess we are back again on October 30th.
Yes, I have that down October 30th. And I want to thank Bill Holt, who made our call today. He's a new guest. He's somebody that's new to my world, and he joined us today and loved what we did, Janet. So hi,
Awesome.
Bill.
Welcome, Bill. It's good to have you with us. I see an Andrea B as well. I don't know if she seems new to
I've been
me.
talking with people while you were talking. I've got
Good.
Christine and Asa and J Lo. I mean, I've been Bill. We've been all having conversations. You'll
I
have to
love it.
go back and read the chat.
I won't. I'll have. Yeah, I don't know if I can see it through here, but I can on YouTube maybe. Anyway, that is it for us. Thank you so much for joining us, giving us our time to share with you. And what are you saying? Energy Almanac coming up.
Ready. Everybody can go and buy it. The Energy Almanac for 2025 is ready. Go to theenergyalmanac.com.
I'm going to type that in for people so it shows
Thank
on the
you.
screen. The
Oh,
Energy.
Andrea B is newer. I didn't know that. Well, hello. Hi, Andrea.
Hello and welcome, Andrea. And it looks like she came um
Oh, yay.
through your
That's
group.
awesome.
I can't tell for sure, but I think so.
I can see this.
And let me see if I can show that link. The
I
chat is
see it.
moving.
Yeah. The Energy Almanac came up.
Yeah,
Thank you.
but I mean I'm going to show it on the screen.
Oh, you are.
Ah,
Okay. Nice.
there we go. Did I spell? Yep, I spelled that right. All right, guys. That's it for us. I have a class I've got to get to,
Okay.
which I'm now
Bye,
late for.
everyone.
Bye, everybody. Take care. Mwah.
Bye.